What's up, and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we are bringing it back to our Chucky marathon of films with the remake of Child's Play, which came out earlier this year. And you know what? This has been kind of a long ride. I started it in the end of July, and now we're kind of in the middle of September, so it's been a while. And you know, for the most part, I'm glad that I did it. The only thing that I really wanted to find was a gem in a pack of movies that I figured I wouldn't really care that much about. And I did find a gem, and more than that, so I am satisfied that I did this as a whole. So now the question remains, remakes. Is it worth it? Is this better than the others? Is it worse? We'll figure this out. But first, keep an eye on my channel. I'm gonna soon post a ranking video looking at all of the different Chucky movies up to this point, and we're going to find out which Chucky movie is the best Chucky movie. So that's gonna be posted soon. Keep an eye out for that. The main thing that you need to know about this remake is that it's not a possessed doll this time. He is no longer this ghost of a murderer named Charles Lee Ray. He instead is an artificial intelligent robot tool toy thing. It's more of a gimmick, but the idea is he can control things in your house like your TV, your sound systems, your lights, your whatever. And when he malfunctions, bad things happen and yada yada yada. That's the explanation behind the murders in this movie. So first off, that's an incredibly bold choice, Cotton.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Not only is the other movies all about possessed dolls, but the plot themselves are almost always the same thing, no matter what movie you're talking about. Chucky is trying to leave his body and go into the body of either a child, an adult. It doesn't really matter, but the idea behind it is he's possessed and he's trying to not be possessed anymore, unless you count possessing another human being instead. He wants to live again. He's Pinocchio, gosh darn it, and he wants to be a real boy.
Am I a real boy?
So obviously the methodology and the motivations behind Chucky is going to be different in this movie. It can't be the same because he's not possessed. For the most part, I'm completely okay with that because I'm not really the biggest fan of possessed doll movies. You've heard me say it about 1 billion times during this entire marathon. Yes, if the movie is made well enough, I can enjoy it. But for the most part, I don't care about possessed dolls. I don't like Chucky. I don't like Annabelle. I don't like whatever. So before going into this marathon, I was like, yes, making it so he's not possessed doll might actually make it so I love the character. But it could also be something that a lot of people hate, and I have to understand that and appreciate that because this takes creative liberties to a completely different level. The biggest thing a lot of people were pointing out before I saw this movie was the look of Chucky. I was not sure if I would like it because every time I saw a picture, I was like, not a big fan of it. Maybe he'll look a bit better when he's being evil. But the fact of the matter is, he looks weird. He looks even weirder when he's acting evil. He doesn't look cute enough for a child to enjoy. He also doesn't ever look evil enough for a movie to feel creepy either. He was somewhere in the middle a lot of the times, and I was just, man, I didn't like it. I don't know what it was about the model, and that took me out of the experience. 90% of the time in this movie was the very look of Chucky. What about the sound? What about Mark Hamill doing the voice instead of Brad Dourif? Well, here's the thing. In the first Child's Play movie, and maybe even the second movie, I didn't really care that much about Brad Dourif. I didn't see how he was that iconic of a voice actor. I ended up really enjoying his voice and thinking it's iconic, but it did take me a while to get there. I'm kind of on the same boat of where I was with Brad Dourif in Child's Play 1 and 2 with Mark Hamill. He does a very good job, but I don't consider anything that he does, says, or whatever iconic. A few more movies down the line, would he become more iconic? Probably he would, but is that because you got used to the voice, or is it because he actually is a fantastic voice actor and he can do iconic things? Because I do believe in the voice acting skills of Mark Hamill. There is just nothing about his voice in this that I really believed. From a logical standpoint, if you were selling this doll, would it have Mark Hamill's voice, or would it be like the Chucky dolls in the Child's Play movies where it has that kid's voice that says, "Hi, I'm Chucky"? And then when Brad Dourif's voice would come out, it would be more like otherworldly, demonic almost, because it doesn't match the caliber of that child's voice that you hear on the toy before you hear Brad Dourif. You always hear Mark Hamill in this movie because it's not a possessed doll, it really is just a doll that is malfunctioning. So even though I love Mark Hamill, there are some things that I think from a technical level that don't make a lot of sense to me when I watch this movie. Another thing that I wanted to see out of this movie was self-aware humor. When the Child's Play movies ended and then they started things like Bride of Chucky, Cult of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, blah, 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 blah. When they had those, they had sense of self-aware comedy that was unlike Child's Play, and I loved it, so I wanted to see something like that in this remake, and I knew it wasn't going to be a comedy. I knew it was going to be a horror film, so I took that under consideration, but I still wanted something self-aware in its sense of humor. And does it have that? Not really. Sometimes it does have some very subtle humorous elements to it, like a shout out to Star Wars because Mark Hamill's the voice of Chucky. But it really is very, very subtle. It is grounded, and it's nothing over the top as what I personally like from Chucky. But it is nice to see that they're not taking themselves 100% too seriously like the original Child's Play movie did. One of my biggest problems with this movie, though, is it doesn't feel like Chucky. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Chucky. No, no, no. If you see my reviews of the other Chucky movies, a lot of them I'm not a fan of at all. But if there's only one thing that I want to see out of this movie is for it to feel like Chucky, and it doesn't feel like Chucky for whatever reason. I think the biggest problem is actually its biggest positive, as weird as that sounds, is the fact that it is this artificial intelligent robotic thing that's malfunctioning. Good concept, good idea, not the greatest execution because it completely feels like it's something else. It no longer feels like it's Chucky, so saying that this doll's name is Chucky is a little bit ridiculous and kind of insulting. That sounds weird coming from me because I don't really care that much about Chucky. There's a lot of stuff going on in this movie that I really just didn't care about, especially behind the scenes. Nothing really stood out to me as great. Nothing about the visuals stood out, nothing about the camera work, nothing about the editing. All of that was standard, typical cut and paste stuff. The music and sound, I guess there's this Chucky buddy song that I really was a fan of, but I mean, other than that, I didn't really care that much about the music and sound. If there was one word I could give this movie, I would say it kind of feels dry. It kind of feels like there's something missing. It doesn't feel scary. It doesn't really feel like you want it to feel in any real sense of the word. It was made competently enough, I can say that about it, but other than that, I don't know, it is what it is. It's kind of disappointing to be honest with you, but what did I score this? 61%, 61 out of 100 possible stars, so it's okay. It's not the best thing I've ever seen. It definitely isn't the best Chucky movie I've ever seen. If you're curious of where I rank this in my Chucky marathon of films, it's right below the original Child's Play. The original Child's Play I rated 62%. This was rated 61%. As weird as it sounds, it was almost scored exactly the same. Guys, let me know in the comments down below what you thought about this remake for Child's Play. Did you find it scary? Were you okay with those changes that it made, or were you more disappointed like me? As for YouTube, make sure that you hit subscribe, like it, hit the bell to be notified when I come out with this next review. And until then, check out my ranking video for Chucky. Peace out!